Good morning. As promised, I'm doing a follow-up video on last night's video when we talked about balancing while floating. I haven't read all your comments yet. Well, this morning we had the situation that both charge controllers were on float mode and the battery was fully charged. The BMS was kicked in, balancing. This has all worked. Which didn't work was the reset of the smart shunt again. And the smart shunt sits on 55 volts. The last time it actually was reset is 17 hours ago. So it didn't trigger this morning. I'm currently discharging the battery a little bit. I'm charging the Bluetti just to get rid of some energy, 7 amps, and we are down to 53. This should be enough to trigger our solar charge controllers again. And let's quickly check these parameters again in the smart shunt and see what we are at. We are at 55 volts, so it needs to be at least 55 volts. The tail current needs to be 10%, 280 ampere hours, well 10% of that, so 28 amps. And we need to be there for at least 2 minutes. So above 55 volts, the current is lower than 10%, so lower than 28 amps, and we need to be there for 2 minutes. These are the parameters to reset the smart shunt back to 100%, and it didn't do it this morning, 17 hours ago. That was yesterday. Okay, let's go into the... Well, if you are new to all this stuff here, like I am, this is a lot to take in. All these parameters, all these settings, it is not that easy, I tell you that. And it takes some time to figure this all out. So we are now in the solar charge controller settings of the east roof, and you can see the absorption or bulk voltage is set to 55.2 volts. And the smart shunt should trigger at 55 if the tail current is below 28 amps and we are staying there for 2 minutes. These are the three criteria which need to be true at the same time. And we keep the battery at 55.2 volts, so this is above 55 volts, right? And I still cannot get it to trigger for some reason. Okay, let's turn on the west roof as well and see what happens here. Battery, enable charger, 55.2, 53, this is all good. Okay, so this is ramping up now. Because I now have discharged the battery a bit, it will take a while. Turning off all the lights again. Smart shunt. How smart are you, shunt, huh? Okay, we are charging with 90 watts only. It may take a while. Now it's only 1.9 ampere hours missing. So once we hit the 55 volts here and the current is under 28 amps, and we are staying there for 2 minutes, it should actually reset our charge history here to 0 minutes. But for some reason it didn't trigger this morning and I don't know why. Okay, let's wait and see. Alright, I just had breakfast. I know. I should have a beer actually. I go into the garage and read all the numbers and figures here of all my displays. Then I have breakfast. Well, anyway, we've got 54.5, so voltage is climbing very fast now. And this is the smart shunt. And I've written down the numbers here again. So we are charging to 55.2 volts, stay there for 10 minutes, and then we drop to 53.6 volts floating. And the smart shunt should trigger a reset at 55 volts if it stays there for 2 minutes. Coming closer to the 55. Well, yeah, and the third. I could hear the BMS. Something is going on with the BMS. There again. The relay is turning off of the BMS. Do we have... Oh, we have a high voltage cell here. Ooh, what's happening here, guys? Number 14. 3.65. And I can hear the relay kicking in of the BMS. So it's turning off the charging. What's wrong with number 14 here? There, relay turns off, relay turns on. There again. Here you can see the charging switch actually going off. There. What is going on with this cell? Okay, there are too many things at once happening now. We are still under 55. Okay, let's go quickly back into the BMS. Why is it not shutting off completely and staying off? Here's my overvoltage. Release is at 3.55 for 2 seconds. So if I increase this one to 10 seconds, say, would that make a difference? And now I can see when the actual relay is turning off, the voltage is peaking because the solar charge controllers are still delivering energy to the system. The inverter is hooked up, so they supply power to the inverter without the battery. And we've got also a warning in there. Okay, are we still charging actually? No, we are not charging anymore. Yeah, and this is what I have observed as well. Once this is happening, the BMS turns off the battery. The solar charge controllers go into absorption mode and then into float mode. So they're only supplying energy to the inverter now without having anything to do with the battery here. So this seems to work, but why is this cell so high? Why is number 14 so high? That is crazy high, right? That is not good. Well, at least the BMS is working this time, and it's cutting off the power at 3.65 volts when we hit that. This is actually not what I wanted to do this morning. Well, and this is the explanation why the smart shunt didn't reset correctly, because we were not hitting the 55 volts for long enough. Okay, let's see what this warning here says. Here's our notification. The inverter says low battery voltage, 46.4. This is when the BMS turns off and the solar charge controllers take over. And then it depends on your load here, if there is enough solar available to actually run the inverter, right? And then the inverter says, hey, here we've got a low voltage warning, and potentially even turns off your power. But now it's running. Well, the battery is connected again. Yeah, the inverter is definitely running 53.5 volts, which is our floating voltage. And I think we can see the battery is now being discharged here. I don't like this situation here at all. Okay, let's have a look at the smart shunt again. This time it has triggered. That is so inconsistent. I don't like this at all. I've got the feeling I haven't got control over the system at this moment. And it needs to be reliable, right? So, well, we can see the west roof is turned off and the east roof is supplying 45 watts to the system to operate the inverter. And the battery is being discharged by 0.1 amps. Yeah, we can confirm that. And the BMS is doing its job, it's balancing. So it should balance all the cells over 3.35 volts now. Well, this was a bit an out of control situation. BMS kicked in, the voltage was rising, BMS turned off our battery from the solar charge controllers, everything at the same time. Okay, I need to, and it's very hard in these situations to keep a clear mind. You know, the BMS is beeping at you, you can hear the relay clicking in and out and see the voltage spiking, and then you see the red voltage here of one of the cells is getting too high. So if we go in here, yeah, we can see it there. Hang on, I think I can zoom in here. Far at the end, see there's the blue line. The orange line is the average voltage, which is just above 3.3 volts. And the blue one is the battery, yeah, the current voltage, the max, basically. So can we, yeah, 3.658 was the maximum it recorded for this cell. So that is still all right. I probably lower the voltage a little bit for the cutoff if this happens again. So, well, I guess I'll let this one balance now and see what happens over time. And this is exactly what I told you in the previous video. The cells are staying together as long as the voltage is not too high. But if you go up in this curve, in this charge curve above 3.4 volts per cell, they start drifting. And this is exactly what we see now here. Look at all these voltages now. And we've got 246 millivolt deviation all of a sudden. From 4 to 5 millivolt before that. Right? Look at all these cells. They're all different now. 70, 71, 34, 89, 74, 94, 609. This is all over the place. Well, to be honest, I haven't had a fully charged battery for the last probably 3 months or so at least. Because of the weather and the shading, I'm not getting too much solar at the moment, and the battery was just hovering between 50 and 80% all the time. And well, this is the first time the battery is fully charged again. So I guess I'll leave it at this stage now and just let it balance, right? And see what's happening over time then. Whew, what a shock in the morning. So I have now changed some of the parameters in the BMS here. So my over voltage protection kicks in at 3.63 volt. If this makes a difference, I don't know. I just lowered it a little bit to see what happens. Over voltage release is at 3.55. So once this is triggered, it should not turn on again before the cell is going down to 3.55. But this did not seem to work before either, so I'm not sure. You can click on this exclamation mark here, and after a while there is an English explanation, but it is a bit vague what they actually mean with all this stuff here. It doesn't really help that much. I left my balancing as it is. Oh, the precision actually, yeah, it's 10 millivolt, that's correct. Yeah, this time I got it right. And yeah, guess I leave the battery as it is at the moment. You can see here the east roof controller and the west roof controller, both are supplying about 20 watts to the system to keep the inverter and the standby stuff running here. What a scary moment. Glad I got the camera with me. Yeah, well, I'll check back in later. We are going shopping now. We'll be away for 2 or 3 hours or so. I'll let this all running as it is and monitor the situation from the app from time to time. But unfortunately I still cannot monitor this one. I know there is a project on GitHub about connecting the BMS to the Raspberry and read the information remotely as well. I haven't looked into it. I'm still waiting for someone to send me an email with all the instructions and all the stuff I need. Right, anyway, I'll check back in later and let you know how this situation goes. So we are now at 222 millivolt deviation at 10 past 11. Both lights are green. We're still in float mode. 2 hours later, it's 10 past 1 and we are still balancing. So this seems to work at balance voltage, but number 14 is still too high. You can see east roof delivers 10 watts, west roof delivers 44 watts and 0 amps going into the battery. There we go. 0.00 amps going in or out of the battery. So balancing really should work now. We are down to 50 millivolt. Maybe it's not working as I thought it would be. Or it just takes too long. So what I will quickly do is just turn off the solar for both controllers here. So we discharge the battery now. And we just need to wait until the controllers switch back to bulk. I just want to see another cycle and see what happens now after 2 hours of balancing. Maybe the balancing is not working as well as I thought it would be at this point of time. and the battery is a bit out of balance, but now at 3.35 volts the balancing is not as effective. Okay, then after 2 minutes we can turn them back on and they should go into bulk mode straight away. Yep, they're back in bulk. All right, and the charger off. So we've got another full cycle now of charging the battery to 55.2, and want to see if this smart shunt actually this time calibrates, or if the BMS still freaks out because of a high voltage cell. So the last time was 2 hours and 26 minutes ago. Have a look at these guys here and see what's going on. So east roof 100 watts, west roof roughly 100. And back to my self-made dashboard here. So we've got the smart shunt here showing us the amps going in and out, and I also want to see if the history actually clears and goes back to zero once it hits the 3 criteria here to reset, recalibrate. We've got the BMS here. You can see cell number 14 is rising again because we are still charging, and this one here shows us the both solar charge controllers, so I can actually then see if they are in bulk or in absorption or float mode. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about cell number 14 here with 3.425, and it's still climbing. Well, hopefully with the second battery we are going to build very soon, this won't happen anymore, because I have ordered a different BMS for the new setup. I don't want to spoil it yet, but I hope I will never see these situations again. So let's see how good this new BMS actually works. So we are now at 3.6 volts, and look how quick it rises. And we are nowhere near 55.2 volts. So we will get another disconnect with cell number 14. That's just not good. And I'll show you what happens here then, once this is happening, what the charge controllers do. You will see they will go into absorption mode, which is the next slide, and then eventually they go into float mode and just support power to the inverter then without battery being connected. There we go. And that's actually early. Oh no, 3.63 I said. Yeah, that's right, yeah. So that was the first disconnect. There again. We've got a low voltage warning here on the inverter because the battery is disconnected. Again, battery is off, battery is on again. It just disconnects for a moment. There again. And this does not harm the solar charge controllers. They can handle the situation. So it is actually trying to stop charging the battery any further, but because it's a relay, discharging is disabled at the same time, which is kind of stupid, right? In such a situation, you want to prevent the battery from being charged any further, but you want to keep your discharging, your load, on. So it does this for a couple of times now. You can always see when the battery is disconnected. We get a red light here, low battery warning. So at the moment it keeps it under 3.63 volts, so we are not going too high. It keeps doing it, but our voltage is now rising, so other cells are catching up. But we are still not reaching the 55.2 volts. 3.63 again, then it balances a little bit, shuts off charging. Yeah, this is certainly not an ideal situation, I think, over time. This on-off situation, what do you think? But the relay is working now, so this is all fine. You can always see the charging switch here going back and forward. Now it's off, so our battery is disconnected. and then it's back on. 3.63 volts it keeps it, so under 3.65, which is good. But we are still nowhere near the 55.2. And we can see something here. When the BMS disconnects, the voltage goes down to 45. And here we can see that charge controllers are off at the moment. And then they come back on to charge the battery again. Battery gets too high, discharges again, and so on. It's a circle, right? So, and now after 10 attempts, the BMS has completely shut off. And we can see the inverters, the charge controllers are now in float mode. And the inverter is saying we've got a low battery warning here. And let's see. Now, I cannot turn on the light anymore. It's completely off. So we are now kind of off grid, even with our grid here. Now it starts. It restarts. They are still in float mode. Yeah, and the battery has reconnected. But the Raspberry Pi now is offline because our Wi-Fi modem has restarted up there and we don't have any internet connection, so this may take a moment now to reconnect. And well, now the charge controllers are in float mode and we have never reached the actual 55.2 volts, right? So this whole system does not work at all because of this one cell. That's a shitty situation. I don't like it at all. This is unreliable and totally not as designed. I hope the other BMS I've ordered does it better. No relay anymore. Yeah, so this is the situation at 100% here in the off-grid garage at the moment. Not ideal. Far from ideal. I mean, the BMS does its job, don't get me wrong. It protects the battery from overcharging, it disconnects the battery with a relay, but it also disconnects the discharging at the same time. In this situation, it's not ideal. And then eventually the inverter turns off because the relay is disconnected, the battery is disconnected. And well, then we are off-grid here in the off-grid garage. Once we have the second battery in place as well, this situation should not occur anymore, because if one battery turns off, the other battery is still there. Unless the second battery has the same problem with a high cell voltage somewhere and disconnects the relay as well, and both batteries have disconnected, then you are off-grid. And that's why I have ordered a different BMS for the second battery. I just want to try something else and I want to show you something else as well. So, well, for now, I leave the battery in float mode. There's not much power coming from the solar panels anymore. It's afternoon. And we will see. This one should come down now, should balance, and over time probably get back into the same voltage area as the other cells. I'm sure it will, but tomorrow we will have the same issue again. There's a new cycle starting tomorrow morning, and then it recharges the battery to 100% and the same shitty game starts again, right? So I'm not sure what will happen then. We will find out. Okay, this was actually not what I want to show you in this video. I want to show you how excellent the balancing works at 3.35 volts, which it kind of does. But maybe it's not the right settings. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work as well as I thought or as I remembered it 3 months ago. Maybe I need to charge to a higher voltage, slightly higher voltage, and balance there at 3.5 or something, and then keep the voltage there, or even 3.45, and absorb and keep the voltage there, and then balance at this voltage. Well, we will see. We will see. Time will tell. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here. Thanks for all your support, and thanks for all your beer donations, of course. You are insane. And we shall see us again in the next video coming out tomorrow with something different this time. We will do actually something with our hands again, something practical. I wanna, well, it is sad. You have seen I have disconnected my test solar panels on the roof, the 2 times 40 watts and the one 220 watts here. I really want to reconnect the 2 40 watt panels again so I can do some solar charging and testing in here, but I don't want to reconnect the 220 watt panel anymore. This is not necessary. And then I thought, well, what am I doing with these ones here, with these 2 ports? And I had a good idea. I had a very good idea. And we are doing this in tomorrow's video. We will connect these 2 ports. Thanks again for watching, guys. See you tomorrow then. Bye bye. Guys, I've just started to cut off some firewood and 10 minutes with a chainsaw. The battery voltage is now at 53.16 volts. And look at these cells, the deviation. 6 millivolt deviation only, gone. It's all gone. And this is not thanks to the BMS. This is just because we lowered the overall voltage just a little bit, and the cells will all be together in harmony again. And as soon as we would rise the voltage now in the pack, we will see the same outcome again. The drift is real. Don't tell me to get a balancer. Well, there's nothing to balance here, right? There's nothing to balance. The balance will only happen at a higher voltage then. And then there's no time to actually balance.